What's going on, guys? Today we're talking about my money maker, Sony A7 III. And I'll be sharing, just my feedback in regards to using this machine. It's one of the most affordable cameras that you can get for what it does. I've been shooting with this camera for the past year and it's been, it's done wonders for me. So just wanted to share some of the things I like, some of the things I dislike about this camera, and if it's still a good purchase for you to make in late 2019. This camera was released back in April 2018. It's been over a year since it was released, and it was, and it still is one of the most popular cameras that Sony has made in the past. And other competitors are actually coming out with mirrorless, whether it's Canon, Nikon, and other companies as well. So just wanted to share my feedback about, my experience with shooting with this camera, whether it's for, wedding photography or creating short videos. That has helped me just have a smoother process and just creating overall. This camera just makes it so easy to just focus on what you're shooting and not really worry too much about certain aspects that you might have to worry about with other cameras that are a bit older. Really good for what it's worth. It offers so many things for the user that is shooting with it. Just the capabilities of it, whether it's for photo or video. Just for what this offers for $2,000, I feel like it's a great buy. But right now we're only talking about the body itself and kind of what's been my experience on using this camera. So starting off a bit about what I like about this camera. Right now I have it paired up with the 85-1.8 Sony lens. This is one of the first lenses that I bought for this camera. I also have a Tamron 28-75, which is what I'm shooting this video with right now. I'll probably be making a video in the future going more in depth about the lenses themselves. If you guys are interested in me making a video about that, feel free to leave it in the comments below, and I'll definitely take it into consideration when making my next video. The first thing is battery life. This camera has amazing battery life. When I'm shooting weddings, I can easily shoot with one body with two batteries for the entire day with photo. And with video, it's not really that far away from that. 3-4 batteries, I mean, just to take them with you in case, but really 2 batteries is kind of what you need if you're shooting an event. And if it's just like a shoot itself, just with a model or whatever the case may be, if it's a shorter day, 1 battery even can do the job for you. So battery life is a big aspect about this camera itself. The second thing is the camera has 2 SD card slots for you to, obviously back up your work. It is crucially important to have this in your camera bodies nowadays, especially if you're shooting stuff that you don't want to get lost. Whether you're shooting or something happens with the SD card, you have something to back up on the camera. Having those 2 camera SD slots there can definitely help you just feel more secure on the shooting day, just making sure that if anything happens to the first SD card, you have that second one to rely on. The only annoying part of this is that for some reason Sony released this camera with the inserts of the SD cards turned around facing the label of the SD card away from you. So when you're having to enter those SD cards on the camera, you do have to kind of make sure that you enter the right SD card storage on there, and just double checking on that so it's not facing you when you're entering it. So that's kind of annoying sometimes, but as anything, you get used to it. Sony might fix that in the future with future cameras that they come out with, but it is something that it's a bit annoying. So next, talking a bit about the low light capabilities of this camera. When it comes to shooting photo or video, it performs amazing. Even at bumping up that ISO a bit higher than other cameras, the noise that's on the footage or the photos is not really that noticeable. As photographers and creators, we might just nitpick and check out how much noise it is, but when you're shooting for certain clients, I don't think it's really something they're looking at. It performs way better than other cameras do, for sure. Another awesome feature on this camera is the super crop mode on it. If you have a prime lens, whether that you can't really zoom in on, it does have that feature where you're able to crop into it to just have more of a reach with certain shots that you might need it for. So that's a really cool feature for you to have on the Sony A7 III, which if for whatever reason you only have a prime lens available and you need to have that extra length, good to have that feature on you for those specific shots that you might need it for. So that's definitely something that's really good to have in this camera body. The next great thing about this camera, the Sony A7 III, is the face tracking ability that it has with shooting photo or video. It has a really good response when shooting this. The sensors inside this camera are amazing. You know, even with crazy moving faces or whatever the case may be in your shots, it tracks every single one of them. It's very rare where it misses the face shot. So it's really good with tracking objects. Recently, a few months ago, they did do an update where it actually tracks pets' faces, whether it's your dog or cat or whatever pet you have. So as you know, with Sony, they have updates coming along, so it's pretty cool for them to add this feature on there. But overall, just the autofocus system, face detection is amazing on this camera body as well. The in-body stabilization on this camera is great. I would still suggest for you to have some kind of stabilization aside from the in-body. Like maybe a small gimbal or something that can help you with those more professional shoots. But with in-body stabilization itself, it's really good. So you're able to, handheld your shots, whether if you're vlogging or taking any shots like that. So that's another thing that's really good with this camera as well. The other thing is the frame rate that it offers, the different ranges that it has. Yeah, this camera has up to 4K, up to 30 frames per second, and also 1080p up to 120 frames per second. Keeps the autofocus at this setting, which is great. Other cameras might not do that. So even at 1080 with 120 frames per second, keeping that slow-mo if you want to use those kind of shots, you are still able to retain the audio in this camera if it is something that you're interested in using in the future. Next thing I want to talk about with this camera is the menu. It is super long. It has a lot of different settings on Sony's system. That is just something that they're known for, just having a broad selection in the system. The cool thing about it is at the very last page of the menu system, it does have a section where you can kind of add your menu and what you use the most, whatever you're using your camera for. So you can just kind of pick the selections that you have using the most, and you can just add them on that last sheet, and you have easy access for them as well. Yeah, so just a few other things that I wanted to mention about the camera itself. The customizable buttons within the camera are super helpful, especially with shooting weddings or doing any kinds of events where you can just press a button real quick to set it at a certain setting that you want it on. Either it's super crop or having that kind of touch effect on it. I do see myself sometimes, like when I'm capturing the shot with the camera, sometimes I do touch my nose like on the screen, and it does add that, like if you have the touch effect on it and you touch it with your nose, and it does kind of set the focal or the focus kind of setting to the part where your nose touched. It's kind of annoying sometimes, so it's cool to have like a button you can just press to turn that off if I'm going to be shooting a lot of shots with my viewfinder. So I think that's a pretty good setting, and there's other settings that you can customize a lot of these buttons for that can help you just to have a more faster experience as well, and not having to like go inside the menu and mess with every little setting there and navigating through the whole system. So I think that's pretty cool. Another thing that I love about this camera is that it has a lot of lenses available now that are affordable and just versatile to use with any kinds of shooting that you do. Right when the A7 III came out, there wasn't so many lenses at the time. There were some good ones, especially with the G Master series. There were out there, but with the G Master series, it's very expensive for you to purchase those without thinking over that purchase. So now Tamron has been coming out with some amazing lenses. Sony has a few in their system as well, like the A7iii that's very affordable, under 500 bucks, so you can pick up, and just other lenses as well within the body system with Sony. So that's another cool thing about it, and they're coming out with more and more these other companies that are teaming up with Sony to make those lenses as well. Super awesome to have with your kit and not spend so much money on putting that kit together for you. So yeah guys, that pretty much wraps it up with my review of the Sony A7 III. Just wanted to share my experience on using this camera body for this past year with capturing weddings, capturing videos, and just overall creating content also here on YouTube. And speaking of that, if you guys like these kind of videos, feel free to leave any questions in the comments below, and also like and subscribe for these kind of videos in the future, so I can know that you guys are appreciating this kind of content with this specific type of theme and subjects on the matter. So yeah, thank you so much for watching once again. Sergio Luviano here, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.